So most of us do not even know how our deductions are made or are done at the end of the month. All we know is that we are taking salary home and then we spend it without even knowing what we are saving indirectly for the future. Now, this is how the deduction is done for the SNIT, especially because I'm concerned about the SNIT because at the end of the day, when you work for so many years, you still go home and you need to go home with something decent. So the SNIT is deducted on your base pay. So let's say your base pay is 1,000 cedis and you were taking an allowance of 2,000 cedis. Note that SNIT is only deducted on that 1,000 cedis. So even if you are enjoying more allowances than your base pay, then you should know that you are only contributing something small for your what? For your SNIT. And at the end of the day, when you go home, that is where you get to see the effects of the contributions that you did whilst in active service. So I just wish to add this to it so that it makes you more informed when you are making your choices or taking your decision on how you spend in terms of what you get from the bank every month. You know that at the end of the day, I'm only saving this indirectly to my SNIT. Hello everyone, welcome to the HR corner of the G concept. Today we are discussing salary. What salaries are, what are the components of salaries. Uh, the last episode was about appointment letters, and we took a look at the features of appointment letters and the importance of appointment letters. Why you need to have an appointment letter before you start any job. And today we want to look at the components. We are taking the components one after the other, the components of our appointment letters, one after the other. And we are starting with the salaries. I know salaries are very important to a lot of people when they are even looking for a job. The salary is the first thing that they talk about or they think about. So that's why I want to start from the salaries. So everything I have mentioned in there in the appointment letter, we are going to discuss them one after the other. So you know why they are important and why you should have them in your appointment letter. Now, what are salaries? What are salaries? When you hear the word salary, what does it mean? Salary is also known as remuneration or pay or wages or earnings. So that's another word or another way to express salaries. If you want to say salary, you can use any of these words I've just mentioned to define or to explain what salary is. Now, what is a salary? What is a salary? A salary is a fixed payment that is given to an employee within a period of time. It's within a period. So the period, like I mentioned in my previous video, it could be monthly, it could be bi-monthly, it could be weekly, depending on whatever your terms are. So the most important thing is that it is stated to be an amount or earning that you get within that period. So that's what a salary simply means. Now, what are the components of a salary? Now, these are the components of the salary. A lot of people get this twisted. They don't really understand. And this mostly happens at the public service. I've been at the public service before. I know what I'm talking about. The public service, you see that a lot of people do not even know the difference between their net salary and then their gross salary or their basic pay. So I am coming to explain that one too. Now, what are the components of a salary? What are the components of a salary? We have the basic, we have the gross, and then we have the net. And we also have allowances. So these are the main components of a salary. Basic, gross, net, allowances. So if you see any salary, you are supposed to find these components in them. Now let me quickly explain what all these components I've just mentioned. Let me quickly explain what they are. What is a basic salary? When we say this is my basic salary, what does it mean? The base pay actually is determined by your minimum wage. The minimum wage in your country, that is what is determined by your base pay. So at least whatever you are being given by your employer should be more than your minimum wage. Should be more than your minimum wage. It shouldn't be less than your minimum wage. or should be your minimum wage, maybe from the basic of your minimum wage. In Ghana, for example, it used to be 13.53 cedis as the minimum wage, and now it's been upgraded to 14.88 cedis. So that's your minimum wage that you're supposed to earn. And so your base pay is supposed to be um, determined by your minimum wage. Now let's move from the base pay to the gross pay. So what is a gross pay? So when we talk about gross pay, we are talking about the earnings that you have before your deductions, before your taxes and whatever. So let's say you have received money and then from your employer, and you realize that uh, before the taxes and the benefits or the deductions that have been made, the amount that you see over the bulk, that amount now becomes your gross salary. Your gross salary. So that is what it means. Before deductions, the amount you see is your gross salary or your gross pay. Now that we have seen the gross pay, let's look at the net salary. What is your net salary? Your net salary is simply the gross minus all the deductions. Remember, I mentioned that the gross salary is the amount before deductions. So the net salary is all the amounts that you see, the final money you see in your account. As people normally literally say, take home. Your take home pay is your net salary. So what you are taking home is your net salary. So from your employer's desk, your gross salary, which encompass all the other things. When you take out your taxes, you take out your SNIT, when you take out your loans, maybe personally you have subscribed for some loans or some insurance policies for which they are deducted every month. That after the deduction, whatever is left for you at the bank, it now is your net salary. So when you talk about what you take to the house, that is your net salary. I hope this is clear to you, since sometimes people can just get it twisted. If you don't understand, you can play the tape back so that you get it clearer and better. Now, from the employer's desk, a net salary is simply the gross minus all deductions. Gross minus all deductions. So what the company is paying you, what you are taking home, is your net salary. And you realize that all deductions that have been made, including taxes, SNITs, or maybe if you have taken any loan from the company, that will be deducted. And then whatever you see remaining in your account becomes your net salary. Sometimes some employees subscribe to these insurance policies and loans. These are their personal loans. Sometimes they've taken them from the bank. Maybe they might not have taken them from the employer. But then once all these are deducted, whatever you go home with is your net. So I am trying to classify the net into two folds over here. The first fold is your employer's net, and the second fold is your own net, in the sense that some of the net salaries you see it's not by the employer. That is not what the company is paying you. These are your personal expenses that have reduced your net. But then the one from the employer side is the one that all deductions have been made that are supposed to be made as applicable to all employees, which are the taxes and the SNITs. And after they are deducted, what is left for you is your net. Now, the second net, which is informed by you, the employee, is the one that you have made several expenses. Some people can actually subscribe to so many insurance policies and loans, to the extent that when you see their pay slip, you realize that it's left with only something scanty as their net. So in that case, it is not the fault of your employer for you to have that net. So when someone asks you what's your net is not what you are seeing there in that case, because it's informed by your own expenses. and not by the deductions that are eligible and liable to everyone. I hope you get this also clear. I hope you have enjoyed this segment on the HR corner. And then this is the end of the part one of the salary components. I wish to bring you the part two in my following episode. Please stay tuned. And till I come your way again, this has been the G Concept. Stay blessed and bye bye.